Citing the fact that the armed services are all undergoing transformation, a crucial combat support agency is too. The Defense Logistics Agency is striving to keep up with a new strategic plan. Joining me with the highlights, the DLA Director, Army Lieutenant General Mark Simerly. General Simerly, good to have you with us.
Tom, thanks for including me on FNN. I'm really looking forward to communicating with you and your listeners.
All right. So I thought the most telling point was the transformation, the basic change, transformative era, you called it, for the armed forces themselves that you support. Tell us, what are the major trends you see there that would cause DLA to need a refreshed strategy?
Tom, thanks for that question. So I would say there's three things to know about DLA to give you context for that question. Number one, we're the nation's logistics combat support agency. We support military formations and capabilities around the globe with food, fuel, energy, uniforms, medical supplies, construction material, spare parts, and more. The second item is that we're a worldwide organization with more than 25,000 employees supporting the combatant commands in 28 countries. The sun literally never sets on DLA. And the third part is, as the Department of Defense continues through this transformational era, DLA is challenging itself to transform alongside our partners in the military. Now, recently, Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin spoke about the need to strengthen the resiliency of the supply chains that are critical for national security. That's DLA's focus as well, and very much reflected in the new strategy. And so we see all of the services, all of the combatant commands in the department shifting to face the challenges of future warfare and even the changing character of war. And that means we have to shift as well so we can remain in stride, in some cases be ahead of need in the case of the Department of Defense.
And, of course, your job, if you break it down to the basics, is getting stuff to the people where they need it and when they need it in the right quantities. And have the supply chain issues that affected industry and still continue to, I guess maybe it started in COVID, but there are other causes too. Do you find that those affect the DLA as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the entire department is affected by a lot of the supply chain challenges that we see in the commercial realm. So certainly there's some workforce challenges. There's an evolving pace of technology that's being introduced. There's access to materials. So those are common challenges that we see, and certainly what we intend to address in this strategy. And I would say, as we look at this drive to calibrate a more resilient posture through precision, that's a component of our plan that's going to allow us to be more precise about the way we define requirements and more precise in the demand signal we give industry, which is really the source of our supply, so they can better calibrate their support to us with greater lead time.
And you, of course, as you mentioned, use mostly commercial items ultimately, or, specified, say, for the services, but made by commercial industry, whether food or uniforms and so on. But the means by which materials get around the world, isn't that also mostly dependent on the commercial transportation system? In other words, there's not Navy ships delivering DLA supplies to Navy ships.
Well, I would say it's a combination. We certainly have a reliance upon commercial transportation. We also operate within the Defense Transportation System led by our partner, U.S. Transcom. And so there's a mix between military cargo and then commercial freight that moves around the globe, some by air, some by surface as well. But we see the challenges that we have with supply chains in peacetime right now as being indicative of the challenges we might face in conflict. And it's really this concept of contested logistics, where we see that logistics will be contested at all levels of war, tactical, operational, strategic, even in the homeland, and also in all domains. So in the air, in space, on the land, sea, and in the cyber domain as well. And that's what's really causing us to make this shift. We understand our adversaries intend to attack a vulnerability that they perceive within our logistics capabilities, which underpin all of our ability to conduct combat operations. And so we have to add resilience to our posture so that we can not only anticipate attacks, but be better prepared to respond to them through stronger networks, stronger means to transport items across the globe, dispersion, there's many other ways that we're going to have to modify our approach so that we can ultimately meet our responsibilities across the globe.
I mean, fair to say that in conflict, should that happen, that battle plans are interesting, but without logistics, they don't help much.
Well, absolutely. We understand that logistics is the baseline of all combat power, and without it, then we're not going to be able to continue operations. And, of course, we're concerned about not only a short, sharp conflict, but also protracted warfare. So having the resilience in our supply chains, having the right commodities in the right place, not only at the beginning of the war, but the ability to assure support throughout a conflict is really what we have to focus on. And that's why, we understand that we have to think, act, and operate differently. We have to think about the challenges of warfighting clearly as we craft solutions. We have to act in ways that generate greater readiness and resilience today for the future fight. And then we have to operate in a way that it allows us to act with precision in all of our communications to industry so we can generate greater decision advantage and be better prepared to support unanticipated requirements.
We're speaking with Lieutenant General Mark Simerly. He is director of the Defense Logistics Agency. And so let's go into some detail about what's going to change then for DLA to be more precise and to be more accurate in what is needed and so on. What are you going to do differently here?
Well, there's quite a few things that we've envisioned that have to change in the organization for us to be relevant in the future. And it's really based upon our organizing principle for our strategy, which is based upon 4 transformation imperatives: people, precision, posture, and partnerships. And with our people, we understand we have to build organizational agility through our culture and our people having the right skill sets, being motivated by an understanding of the future battlefield and requirements, and having the right culture that allows people to continue to grow and develop in our organization. With precision, that's about calibrating resilient and responsive logistics solutions. So being able to employ state-of-the-art tools, analytical tools, so that we can achieve what we call decision advantage over our adversaries. We can think faster and better than them. So certainly that means in improvement in our digital interoperability, the way we exchange data from end to end in the supply chain, but also application of tools like artificial intelligence and machine learning to help us think faster and better about problem sets and solutions that we devise. And then I would say the third imperative is posture. So this is increasing our ability to support integrated deterrence across the globe. And we think about posture in 3 ways. First one is presence. So having the right people, the right skill sets positioned across the globe so that they can maintain the relationships, the access, the permissions, and gain the situational understanding that is simply really difficult to do unless you've got people on the ground. The next element is position, and that's really the traditional way that we think about posture. That's where we have material forward deployed across the globe and dispersed, so we've got adequate resilience within those supply chains. And being able to act with precision, so we're really putting the right stuff that we're going to consume in the right quantities at the right time. And then the final element is partnership. And so certainly partnerships within the joint force, ensuring that we are calibrating our support for the diverse requirements of all the military services and the combatant commands. Also, being able to partner with our regional partners, our allies and partners across the world so we can integrate support. The era of logistics being a national responsibility and coalition fight is really over. And then the third element of posture or partnerships that I'd say is industry, right? So really important for us to be able to work with industry to understand challenges in generating resilience within their supply chains that contribute to ours, and to give them good demand signals so they can better anticipate requirements as well.
And I was wondering, since, as you point out, the DLA is delivering everything except ordnance, and that comes from different elements, are there insights or practices that you can share, though, with those elements that do deliver the ordnance and the kinetics and the energetics, so that better coordination of those and what DLA is delivering?
Yeah, so I think there's definitely some intersection of supply chain responsibilities. And even though DLA doesn't directly deliver munitions or develop munitions, that's really a service responsibility. We still have components that contribute to it. As you mentioned, there's critical materials that are part of those supply chains that we have to illuminate and ensure provide the necessary material, but also the